I share with you a strong testimony that I have an absolute certainty that serves as a warning and awakening for my life and for yours. A sister named Rosanne will tell you about a great experience she had with God where she was caught up in spirit. Brethren, in this encounter I saw a large crowd dressed in white robes. I couldn't count them. On my left side I saw a cup full of blood. I looked underneath. I saw a tray with piece of meat inside and a glass. Jesus said, "Yes, my daughter, it is my body and my blood." The people you see in white robe are taking it carelessly and saying a little bit doesn't hurt. I looked at those people who were dressed in white. When I looked closer I saw that their white garment was stained, stains that seems little on their dress, and I was nervous because I knew that my clothes was not completely white. The Lord looked at me and said, "My daughter, many are losing their salvation not because of big things, it is because of small things. Those with a big sin runs to me and asks for forgiveness, but those with little sin say it's nothing, they leaves it hidden and unresolved. They ends up taking the Lord's meal with sin. Sometimes they don't even confess to their pastor for fear of someone knowing that they had sinned. But first we should confess if necessary before taking the Lord's Supper instead of taking the Lord's Supper with sin and end up with clothes that are stained with blood." Jesus showed me something on my left side and said, "Look." When I looked I saw people well dressed but sleeping with their clothes. I saw a great angel who was the next to this person and protected this person with a great sword, and I saw how he guarded that person. At my right side I looked and I saw people sleeping with those baby dolls. I saw men sleeping without clothes, saw their angel defender with his sword lowered facing away from them not to see their nakedness. I looked at Jesus to try to understand what that was. He said to me, "I'm going to take a lot of them by surprise. I will come like a thief and I will catch them by surprise." The Lord sees us not only when we are in the church, He sees us when we are in our home, when we are at our workplace. Jesus took me to the bottom of the sea. How deep the bottom of the sea was, He said to me, "Look." I looked and I saw a big hole in the ground. He looked at me and said, "There's no point trying to hide from me, for wherever you are I see you. Even at the bottom of the sea I'll see you. At the bottom of earth I am there. See, nothing is hidden before me." He took from the ground something like ring and placed it on his palm hand. He said, "This is how I see you, because I have you in the palm of my hand. There is no use hiding from me." At that time when Jesus spoke to me I felt so small, I felt like a grain of sand. In truth, many times that I had tried to hide from Jesus when I did that I thought someone wasn't seeing, but Jesus was seeing my life. Jesus said, "Come with me," and I went with Jesus, and He said, "I will show you some pastors who will not be raptured on that great day when the trumpet will resound, and why they are not going to rise." I looked, I saw a crowd of pastors, for they were many. Then Jesus started to tell me why they will not rise. I knew some of them and I was scared for them. There were great men of God who were for me a mirror and example to follow. I said, "Oh my God, if they won't be raptured, what will become of my life?" And I knew that before the Lord I wasn't worthy of entering heaven because of what Jesus was showing me. I wasn't worthy. Jesus showed me a particular lady. He said, "Lie, this daughter of mine lies a lot." Jesus was showing me that even that little sin, that little lie that we tell can prevent us from rising. We will lose our salvation not because of big things, but because of small things, and often there are times when without realizing it we end up lying and distorting something. He told me that it's not big sin because for big sin we run and ask for forgiveness, but with the little sin we leave them unresolved. I was terrified, and Jesus said, "Show me a man of God," and said he won't go up. He no longer has any commitment to me. He showed me another leader and say no, he will not rise. He is not taking care of the church out of love for souls, but out of love of money, and many souls are perishing and he doesn't care. He showed me another pastor and said he will not rise because he does not honor his commitment and promise and doesn't deliver. I saw a great missionary woman of God. The Lord said she will not rise because she liked showing her clothes. She's not going to go up. I entrusted her with bringing the message so that her life would be a mirror to other, but she is leading my people to corrupt themselves before me. She is leading them to another path. I'm a holy God. My daughter will not go up. I started to cry for these pastors. Jesus showed me singers who will not rise. He say they go up on the stage so they could praise. but they didn't worship me because they went up in order to be worshipped. And Jesus said, "Look, my daughter, this angel is going up there to be adored, and because of the money." At that time Jesus showed another leader, and told me, he will not be raptured because he does not give tithe and offering. Since he is a pastor, he was supposed to pay tithe and give offering, but he does not do it. The Lord watches over his word. I cry a lot for these pastors. Jesus showed me a pastor taking another man's life, and then he showed me a woman taking a base and applying it to her nails. Jesus was asking me what I thought was the bigger sin, to take someone's life or to apply base on the nails. I looked at that man who took another man's life. I said to Jesus that sin of taking someone's life is the bigger sin. Jesus looked at me and said, "No, bigger sin doesn't exist for me nor little sin. Everything is the same and will be judged. The one who have committed the so-called big sin is not different with the one who committed little sin. The one who takes life will be judged just like the one who is there painting her nails." Jesus said, "Come with me." I didn't know where Jesus was going to take me again. In the blink of an eye I already arrived before my relatives. Jesus stopped and looked at me and said, "Now I want to show you which of yours loved one will go up in the rapture, and those who won't be rapture." I was terrified and started to cry for my family. I was already sad for people that were not my family because we want everybody to be saved, but how much pain I felt for my family, which is my heart. I was scared when Jesus told me that he was going to show me which of my people would go up and those who will stay. The first house Jesus took me was my mother's house. When we stood before her, Jesus said, "My daughter, your mother won't go up in the rapture." And I looked at my mommy and I started to cry for her. And I said, "Lord, just one more chance." Jesus looked at me and said, "You want to know why he will remain?" I was listening to him. He said, "My daughter, your mother won't go up because she never got married, and she has to get married officially in the family, so that she can have supper." Then he said to me, "Come with me," and I went with him to another relative. Jesus said, "Daughter, this one won't go up because she entered the gospel, but the gospel never entered him." And I started to cry again and I asked Jesus one more chance, and he said to me, "He has the opportunity and the chance, but he is not seizing it." Jesus took me to my uncle. I said, "Lord, this one will go up." Jesus said, "He's not going to go up." My daughter, do you want to know why? He stopped being the head of the family. He stopped correcting the children. I trusted him to help his family through correction, but he gave up his responsibility. He won't go up, and I started to cry for I was terrified. The Lord took me to my aunt. I looked and I saw her wearing spaghetti strap blouses. I saw her painted nails. She had cut hair with the hair removed. The Lord said to me, "She won't go up, my daughter, because I am holy." I started to cry and again I asked for one more chance. At that moment the Lord took me to some of my relatives and showed me some of them watching television, watching a game. They were watching a soap opera. Jesus ordered me to look at what was happening as they watched TV. I looked and saw them watching TV. As they watched the soap opera, I no longer saw the television in front of them, for I saw a demon in front of them where the television was, and I saw my relative prostrate on their knee and hurry to worship the demon. How they seemed to be loving that demon who was there. This is what happened when the believer sit at home to watch secular movies, soap opera and animation. The Lord said, "I won't them go up, they are prostrating before demon." I saw other playing game and I saw another demon who was worshipped by my relative playing game, and I started crying. The despair was very great because all of my family will not make it to heaven. We were over 50 of my loved ones serving the Lord, for we were born in the evangelical birthplace. Then Jesus took me to a woman who had cut her hair. Jesus called an angel and that angel came with something like a meter to measure the woman's hair. Only Jesus doesn't call women hair, he calls it a veil. He ordered that angel who told me that the veil was cut. When the angel measured that veil, there was one missing piece of that veil that is hair for us, and I was looking at that when Jesus ordered the angel to go to heaven and open a drawer. When that angel opened this drawer, he looked in there where that hair that Jesus calls veil was. The piece that was missing from that woman's hair was inside the drawer and it was transformed into gold. When I saw that, I started crying because I knew that I too had cut my veil. I had cut mine hair. At that time Jesus opened a vision and showed me something that had happened about 5 months ago. It was the day I wanted to cut mine hair and my sister-in-law arrived at my house. She said, "I'll cut them for you." When she cut my hair, my 4-year-old little daughter started crying. But she cried so much and I didn't understand why she was crying. But when Jesus opened that vision and he showed me that on the day I cut my hair an angel made my daughter cry to draw my attention for me to regret for having cut my veil. When Jesus showed me that, I cried a lot because I knew that I was not innocent. I knew that I was guilty. I knew that I had cut my veil. I knew that my hair was there in that drawer turned into gold. At that moment I started to cry, but until then Jesus hadn't told me nothing, but my conscience itself accused me, and I knew why I was not worthy to enter in heaven.